Are you a teacher forced to teach online for the first time? If you don't know what to do and where to start, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Doc Almond, a curriculum and e-learning specialist. Welcome to my channel. Join me as I help you go through the 6 steps it should take to transform your face-to-face class to an online class. This 2-part video series was inspired by the common questions I received during my e-learning webinars. I recognize that many teachers, maybe you included, feel quite nervous applying e-learning when all they know is face-to-face instruction. Now don't worry if you've already created your course. I realize that this video may seem like it's coming in late, but our team wanted to make sure we were giving you quality content. Just know that the e-learning process is an iterative process. So what that means is that you can revise, improve, and modify your course at any point, even when the course is already ongoing. In this video, I will introduce you to the 6 steps you need to take to convert your class into an online class. You will have to watch the next video to see the actual demonstration of how I apply the 6 steps to my own course that I'm teaching at the University of the Philippines this semester. So let's start. Step 1 is to collect and review your available resources. The good news is you don't have to start from scratch. What you need to do is quality control. This is something you actually do already at the start of each school year, or for us in higher education, in the beginning of each semester. You have to look through your content and make sure that it's still up to date, accurate, relevant, and complete. It would be wise to work with your course outline or your syllabus. Make sure that your learning objectives are aligned with 21st century learning. You can do this by looking at 2 guides. One would be DepEd's Most Essential Learning Competencies and Bloom's Taxonomy's Higher Order Thinking Skills. Step 2 is to chunk your course into bite-sized pieces. If you've done your homework, you know that chunking is an important part of the e-learning development process. So how do you do chunking? Using your course outline or syllabus, determine how you can further cut your course into smaller bits or units. You can do this in 2 ways. The first way is to focus on the amount of information that should be covered in one learning unit. The concept of chunking was introduced to us by psychologist George Miller in the 1950s. According to him, human short-term memory is limited to 7 informational items only. You should know that the e-learning industry still subscribes to this number. However, since that was still the 1950s, there have been further studies that show that maybe from 7, it's now down to 4. It's really up to you how much information you think you and your students need to complete in one learning unit. Overloading your students with information may not be the wisest thing to do. Please remember that you're after the understanding of your students. A second way for you to chunk your course is to focus on time. You probably already know that for e-learning, there are 2 ways for learning to happen. You can do this through synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous means real time, and asynchronous is just in time, or at the convenience of your students. Focus on the time commitment that it will take for your students to complete an entire unit. You have to be practical. For example, I teach a 3-unit class in UP. That means meeting my students for 3 straight hours once a week. Of course, now it would be impractical for me to require my students to be online with me for 3 straight hours. So instead, I would chunk up the things that we need to do into smaller bits. My students can do things offline on their own, and on the day that we're supposed to meet, we can meet online for a shorter time, maybe about 30 minutes. In this way, you're already chunking your course. Step 3 is to add and hyperlink multimedia content. It's very important for you to curate your learning materials well. For e-learning, it's highly recommended that you mix your content with not only text but also visuals, maybe videos that you find online. Mix your content so you can access the different learning styles of your students. Make sure that these are still aligned with your learning objectives. One warning about uploading your PDFs of maybe scanned material is that e-learning is not subject to fair use, just like your face-to-face instruction. In fact, all the laws and rules that apply to broadcasting and publication also apply to e-learning. Instead of uploading PDFs, where you might encounter some issues with copyright and intellectual property rights, why don't you just hyperlink your sources to the pages and websites where the actual author and the actual publisher share these materials? If you want to use videos, keep it short. Make sure that it's no longer than about 5 to 10 minutes. This is because humans now have very short attention span. Step 4 is to include digital activities. This is the point where you should decide that instead of resisting the influence of the internet and digital technology, you can use these to enhance learning. In fact, some years ago, Bloom's taxonomy was revised to include digital activities. You may search for the digital Bloom's taxonomy to see a full list of the activities that you can use. These will include wiki building, creating infographics, mind mapping, sharing, liking, hyperlinking, everything that your students are often actually quite used to doing. Just remember that there are 3 types of engagements that you need to ensure in your course. The first is between you and your students. The second would be between your students and other students. And the third, and also very important, is between your students and the learning materials. Step 5 is to choose appropriate technology. Go back to your learning objectives and see what kind of technologies will help enhance learning. In fact, aside from enhancing learning, you should also consider the comfort and familiarity of these technologies, both for you and for your students. And finally, if these technologies are accessible to your students. Step 6 is to build your virtual classroom. Just like a face-to-face class, you need a central space for learning. This can be as simple as a blog site, a Google site, even a shared document. All you need to do is put all your resources there, hyperlink whatever technologies you're using, so your students know exactly where to go to look for things related to your course. Make sure that the space is intuitive. Use clear language so your students know what to do and where to go to find information. You don't have to make it very sophisticated. Just make sure that you're actually building routines for your students. This may come in the form of making your learning units uniform, creating a template for each one of them. If you want to know exactly how this can be done, you should watch my next video. So those are the 6 steps you can take to convert your class. If you find it problematic to use these 6 steps, you might want to watch my next video. This will be when I will apply the 6 steps to my own course at the University of the Philippines. Follow us on social media, subscribe to this channel, and leave comments so we know what you want for future videos. I promise you that there's more to come. See you soon! Thanks for watching this episode. This is Doc Almond of our eLearning Strategy PH, where we learn fast and teach smart.